Tony, let's talk a little bit about the museum and the library that we have here, which is basically in downtown Atlanta.
It is. We're only minutes away from downtown Atlanta, and we offer a visitor a number of things. First of all, the setting itself. We're on a 35-acre park that has 2 lakes, a Japanese garden, beautifully landscaped flowers. There's a rose garden. The setting itself is just extraordinarily peaceful to get away from the hectic pace of downtown Atlanta, a place to relax. The setting itself is wonderful. But then you've got the only presidential library and museum in the Southeast with a number of things to offer there as well. So it's a unique place for the visitors.
Did the president have a say in what he wanted here at this library and museum?
He oversaw pretty much everything from wanting it to be a peaceful park-like area to the things that are included in the library and museum. The whole presidential center is a combination of 2 things. It is the Carter Center, which is the non-governmental organization that the President and Mrs. Carter run. It's where they do their humanitarian work. It's where their staff is. It's where they have offices. They have a small apartment here. President and Mrs. Carter come here a few days every month because they are still very much on the go. But this is where their humanitarian and health and peace work goes on. Next to it is the Carter Library and Museum. That's part of the National Archives and Records Administration. In the library, and library is kind of a misnomer, it's really an archive, we keep 27 million pages of presidential papers, films, photographs, all of the presidential documents from the Carter administration. There is also the museum that goes through the president's childhood, his life, his political career, the issues of the presidency, and you can see state gifts, artifacts from the presidency, and special exhibits that come here for 3-4 months at a time.
Well, now the president isn't from Atlanta, but did he pick Atlanta for this particular project?
He did pick Atlanta, and one of the reasons because he was governor of Atlanta. He spent a lot of time here. He also wanted to have an association with Emory University, which is here in Atlanta, for the Carter Center. And so we're just 3 miles from Emory University, and so he teaches classes at Emory University, and it gives him access to the center itself.
Do we ever see the president walking the grounds?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, it's funny. There is a group there known as the Red Hat Ladies who visit here often. And I remember one day they were having lunch in the cafeteria, and the president came in and then was posing for pictures. Or one day there were a group of women here, and they saw Mrs. Carter going through one of our exhibits with another woman, and they asked if they could take her picture. Well, the other woman was Anwar Sadat's widow. And so you will see a number of people. Recently, I took former Mexico President Vicente Fox through. The former president of Hungary was here recently. Paul Wolfowitz, formerly with the World Bank, was here. So you can often see heads of state or others here.
Well, of course, all presidents will have a library and a museum, and of course their personal and presidential artifacts will be going into those museums.
That's right. The presidential libraries and museums began with Franklin Roosevelt. They now go back to Herbert Hoover, and they give you a good look at what happened during that president's administration, because if you figure that a president of the United States is the most powerful or one of the most powerful individuals in the world, if you look at their papers, their artifacts, the things that happened during their administration, it would tell you pretty much what the most important things were that happened in the world during that time period.
And you might have missed a few things.
Absolutely. But it's interesting to me to see some things like President Carter earlier this year won a Grammy Award. He won it in the spoken word category, which I think is appropriate. When you go through the museum, you see his 6th grade report card, and he makes straight A's on everything, except he makes a B and a C in music. So that's why it's interesting that he gets the Grammy in spoken word.
Let's talk about the property. We're outside. We have the library and museum behind us. How many acres are here?
We have 35 acres, beautifully landscaped, 2 lakes, a Japanese garden that is tended by Japanese landscapers. Then there is a replica of the rose garden here as well, and so it is just a beautiful place to go. In fact, the terraced area in front of the museum we use as almost an amphitheater. A couple of times each year we have concerts out in front, free concerts, and people come, they bring their picnics, refreshments, and sit out on the grass and listen to music under the stars. It's really a beautiful setting.
Now you have 2 lakes stocked with catfish?
Well, there are bass and a number of other fish here. There are fishermen out here. Sometimes you can even see President Carter out here fishing.
So he will take part in that too.
He will. In fact, he's the reason that we allow fishing here, is because he enjoys it so much that you can often see fishermen out here as well.
For those who would be interested in getting more information on the library and the museum, what's the best way?
2 ways. Our website, www.jimmycarterlibrary.gov, or you can call us at 404-865-7100. Either way, website will give you all the information about activities. It will give you a virtual tour of the museum. This is one of the few places where you can go and walk into an exact replica of the Oval Office, decorated the way it was when President Carter was in office. So that's something I think that we find young children especially. It is inspiring for young children to see the Oval Office, to almost see themselves sitting behind the desk there. Maybe there's a future president out there that can come this way.
Tony, thank you very much.
Thank you.